Warami, my name is Lynette Yanama Marlow. I am a Dharug and Ngurrabal woman. This assignment is for Cultural Change, 2 Ways of Learning, Masters of Education in Social Ecology for the Western Sydney University. It is about walking in Dharug and Burraburrungal country with Elder Uncle Gordon Workman. Before proceeding, I would like to acknowledge my ancestors past and present. I would also like to acknowledge the Burraburrungal elders for their support in this assignment. I would like to especially thank Elder Uncle Gordon Workman for taking me into country and discussing issues to do with the Burraburrungal community. Uncle Gordon Workman has graciously helped me with this assignment. He has a continuous ancestry to Dharug lands. His ancestry begins in European writing from Aboriginal ancestor Gomberi in 1740. Then he goes to Yarramundi, Gomberi's son. Yarramundi was one of the great Dharug freedom fighters in the colonial wars, and to Maria Locke, who was one of the first children who was placed in the Native Children's Institution. Uncle Gordon's mother began Dharug Link, which is now Dharug Tribal Aboriginal Council. He is the administrator of Dharug Standing Together Facebook page, the largest of all Dharug Facebook pages. He is previously the chairperson of Dharug Tribal Aboriginal Council. He is the chairperson of the newly formed Dharug Burraburrungal Elders Aboriginal Corporation. You may ask where Burraburrungal area is located. To the north, it's Richmond and the Hawkesbury. To the east, it's around Parramatta. To the south, it's Penrith, and to the west, it's Mount Victoria. This information has been given to me by Uncle Gordon Workman and Auntie Val Aldridge, as well as research undertaken during this assignment. However, due to smallpox and the annihilation of many of the Dharug clans, this may not be representative of the Burraburrungal area in 1788 when Europeans first arrived in Sydney. Uncle Gordon's and my itinerary went from La Perouse. We met with the Roads and Maritime Service in the city. We had a meeting with the directors of Allianz Stadium. We went to Yarramundi Reach, to Shaw's Creek, to Yarramundi Lookout at Hawkesbury Heights. We went to Friendship Bridge at Pitttown, the Gully at Katoomba, the Men's Shed at Mount Druitt. We had ceremony for the Western Sydney Airport development and went to many meetings for the Western Sydney Airport and attended the handover of the Blacktown Native Institution. La Perouse at Botany Bay is a very sentimental place for me. This is a place where my grandfather, Alan Archie Marlow, is buried. And my grandfather lived at La Perouse for many years. My grandfather didn't know his brothers and sisters because they were taken away at very young ages of 2 and 5 and placed in Bomaderry Children's Home, and then went to Kinchela and Cootamundra Boys and Girls Home respectively. My Uncle Merv ran away from the Kinchela Children's Home and went to war when he was 17 or 18, and he became a prisoner of war. And on his return, as an Aboriginal prisoner of war, he wasn't able to get accommodation or go to the RSL or anything like that. So he finally met my grandfather, got married and had 3 children, and was living in the backyard in a tent at La Perouse. This is where the welfare came in and took my uncles, Uncle Rex, Uncle Jim and Uncle John, away from La Perouse. This was the second generation of my family, of my immediate family, that were taken away since 1920. And of course, the ramifications for my family have been enormous. Uncle Merv paid child support to the government since his children were taken away. And when my uncles came back to Sydney to actually meet their mother and their father, they didn't understand them because they had been brought up differently. They'd been placed in a community that couldn't teach them Aboriginal culture because they weren't from that area. So La Perouse has a special meaning to me and a very special meaning to my family. It's part of the reason why I bring people back to country and why I do a lot of our genealogy, and I am so heartfelt about bringing Aboriginal families back together. Uncle Gordon had many memories of La Perouse. One of those memories was the Chinese gardens, which ironically my grandfather had worked at. He also was quite concerned about the industrialisation around the La Perouse area and how much it had changed the environment.
Over there, you can't see it too much because of the shrubs and bushes and weeds and crap. There's the Chinese garden where we used to pinch the sweet potatoes, celery, whatever they had going, we pinched it. Then we'll come down to the canal, washed it and just sat there and ate it all. Good old days. Okay people, here's botany down here. The airport, the runways, which has really stuffed this place up. When we were kids, back in the late 50s and 60s, we watched whales swimming in this bay. I'll lay 10 to 1, you won't see that today. Totally stuffed it up. Again, greed by the white man and a few Aboriginal people. Too money hungry, as per usual.
We met with the Roads and Maritime Service regarding the roads going to St Mary's to the Western Sydney Airport and other construction around Sydney. One of the issues that were raised were the amount of Aboriginal artefacts that have been displaced due to construction and what to do with them. Our meeting with Allianz Stadium representatives was about the archaeological diggings concerning the new Allianz Stadium being built. But during our meeting we realised that a lot of the artefacts had been lost in the building of the first Allianz Stadium, and that a lot of the direct history had been lost because there wasn't an archaeological survey, and direct history at that time wasn't thought of as being worth keeping. We spent a day going around Yarramundi, which is one of the Burrungul's main camping areas. Yarramundi Reserve is now a place of recreation for the general public where they can go swimming and have barbecues. Uncle Gordon was quite concerned that they've used his ancestor's name but hasn't given a lot of recognition to the Burrungal people.
We used to come here, we could drink the water, you could walk. This is all water. Now look at it, all the shit just filled up in it. Penrith Council, they should be down here dredging it. Or the Hawkesbury Council, whoever wants to take responsibility.
And whose graves were they?
Eh?
Whose graves were they?
Graves, don't know. No crosses on it, no markings on it, just the bulges. But we knew they were there. When the flood came, they went. Yeah.
I noticed that there's pumping.
Yeah, they pump the water out of the creek here, down there. That's for the gardens up top. 20 other Aboriginal girls and 100 European students. But that's from the whole state, and the whole state of New South Wales.
And what happened?
Well, she beat them all. She came first out of all of them. Just not the ones who were at the institute. Yeah.
We're talking about Maria Locke.
Maria Locke, yeah. She was married to a son of Bennelong called Dickie, whose mother was from the Richmond clan, which is Burrabbarongal. A cow, 40 acres at Liverpool, where the plaque is stuck in the middle of the bloody road over there. That's all that's left of the road over there.
You know.
Eh? They've got the Australian flag flying, but can't see the Aboriginal flag. We're going to go to the office and ask.
From the YMCA camp, we went to Yarramundi Lookout at Hawkesbury Heights. This lookout is one of the Aboriginal lookouts that had been used for many thousands of years. It actually is, from that lookout you can see all of the Cumberland Plains and to Sydney Harbour Bridge. It is absolutely incredible. At Shaw's Creek, we went to see some of the archaeological sites. One of those sites was an etching which was thousands of years old of a kangaroo. The kangaroo is the Burrabbarongal totem, and many Aboriginal communities etched their totems in areas to show that this is an area of a specific clan, or that there was men's business within that area, or women's business. So this is very important to Burrabbarongal. This is an Aboriginal rock shelter at Shaw's Creek. We went to Friendship Bridge at Pitt Town, where Yarramundi and Gomeroi had made friends with some of the first settlers. And after that, their land had been taken from them. Ironically, in 1816, Governor Lachlan Macquarie proclaimed war on the Sydney tribes, and one of the people that he specifically mentioned was to get Yarramundi and imprison him. Many of the Burrabbarongal had been moved to the gully at Katoomba in the Blue Mountains. However, due to the government assimilation and Aboriginal Protection Board policies, some of the families were then again removed to La Perouse. The families that were left at Katoomba had, in the end, 36 hours to leave the camp because the government wanted to make that area into a race course, a racing track for cars. Many of the Burrabbarongal families were moved to the gully at Katoomba in the Blue Mountains due to the Aboriginal Protection Board and assimilation policies. Some of the families were then removed again to La Perouse, which is Uncle Gordon's family. Other families who stayed were given 36 hours to leave the property because the government wanted to make a race course in the area. The property eventually was handed back in a joint agreement to the Aboriginal communities. However, Uncle Gordon is quite concerned that it hasn't been managed properly.
Why, on that sign over there, it says Gully Aboriginal Heritage Centre. Why hasn't it got the Darug Gundungurra or Burrabarongal Darug Gundungurra? Because when you say anything, they get upset because they know nothing. Where's the Aboriginal flag on this place as well? No, again, total disrespect.
This is one of the singers at the men's shed. There's always entertainment and everyone has a little bit of a laugh. On a lighter note, we went to the men's shed at Mount Druitt. The men's shed is a one-stop shop where services can contact Aboriginal community, and these services, for example, are housing, health, and other services like Link Up. These services are really important because a lot of Aboriginal men especially won't seek services, but if they're there on a weekly basis, they build a rapport, and this is a culturally appropriate way of services interacting with the Aboriginal community.
We can start a dance group.
If you like to, yes. There you go. You got a yes.
Hey, now this one is my baby sister's involved with that, so you're giving her permission to do dance here.
Well, that's all right.
Yep.
Angelia, I think.
Angelia, yep.
Well, I don't know yet. I've got to meet them first. I'll let you know when they turn up.
If this one...
Uncle Gordon and I went to many meetings regarding the construction of Western Sydney Airport. There was another group from the far south coast called the Murray Nation who had stated that they had a spiritual connection to Darug country, and they were coming into the airport and working with the archaeological diggings, which the Darug were not happy with at all. It's inappropriate for other communities to come onto other people's country and do ceremony or to work in any type of a cultural area without permission from the elders. This has been done all around Sydney, and Uncle Gordon spoke of this as the second invasion. So the first invasion was the invasion by the white and European community. The second invasion to Darug country is the invasion of other groups that have not respected Darug law and culture and have basically come in and said that they have a spiritual connection to this country, with it disregarding the elders, the Darug elders. So this became a huge problem at the construction of Western Sydney Airport. On a lighter note, there was a welcome to country and smoking ceremony and celebration at the first part of the construction of the airport.
I think it's important and remarkable for us in a second respect, which is, we always say at the airport company that it's going to take the community to build this airport, to make it a success. And today is a very public symbol of the partnership we're establishing information with your Aboriginal.
We went to the Quarry for the handover of the Blacktown Native Children's Institution. This was important for both Uncle Gordon and I, as Uncle Gordon's ancestor Maria Locke had gone to the Parramatta Native Institution, and my ancestor Joe Marlowe was also at the institution in 1820. It was a lovely night, but even though Uncle Gordon's mother and sister and Uncle Gordon himself were acknowledged at the ceremony for being the people that had organised this over and dealt with government over the land handover for over 20 years, he hadn't been given an invitation to this event, and it was or had anything to do with the organisation of this event. The handover of land was important for myself and Uncle Gordon, as both of our ancestors had been at the Native Children's Institution at either Parramatta or Blacktown. My ancestor is Joe Marlowe from Prospect, and Uncle Gordon's is Maria Locke from Richmond. There were also descendants of ancestors such as Kitty, and the Coxes were at the handover. It was a very important occasion for all of Doric.
Nayana ngubare mujen jaya mana kamla mujen kumara baru kurawa yadu nayana nareba bubu bawa baraba baraba Nubare mujen jaya baraya yudara gunyolongolo baraba baraya yudara gunyolongolo baraba gunyolongolo baraba.
In coming out of this assignment, I have realised that there are 4 basic principles that people need to carry with them when working in an Aboriginal community. So the first principle is to listen, that Aboriginal people and communities are the experts in their story, and every community has a different story. Secondly, to respect that story, to have unconditional positive regard and not to judge that community or the individual for their personal story. Third, to acknowledge that every community has a right to their own self-determination and to make their own decisions. Fourthly, to keep promises. Most of the Aboriginal communities and the people that I have been working with have been traumatised by the government changing goalposts or people making promises that aren't carried out. So it is really important to keep the promises and to be very honest with Aboriginal communities and to say what can be completed, what can be done, and what can't be done. So with that, I say Yanu. Thank you for listening, and I've really enjoyed this assignment.